Up and away! Out of my way, douchebags! I gotta save all you dumb nerds who didn't vote for me during the song, but whatever. I'm not bitter about it or nothing. I'm just using my X-ray vision to look at your titties.
Nerd is the new sexy.
Welcome to the Nerd is the New Sexy podcast. This is Gambit. Welcome back. We're back, bitches!
We're back after like almost 4 months. Welcome to Nerd is the New Sexy, everyone. I am Wildfire1, and of course, as you heard already, who's with me?
Gambit, I'm back, baby. Things happened.
Episode 61. We're definitely going to be... There's a lot to talk about. There actually is. There's
Lots
a lot
to talk about. Yeah.
But the topic today is going to be Superman. It's been a long time coming. We did do a Batman. Sunrise was supposed to be here tonight. He just ended up... He needed to get some sleep. The guy was delirious.
Yeah, but we got a lot to talk about. So
lots to talk about. So
like right at the bat, like in the opening thing, like, you know what? I'm just gonna get this started. I'm gonna jump right into this.
Yeah.
Right in the opening thing. How do you guys vote for Batman being more iconic than
his music? His music.
It's way more iconic.
It was. You know what? It's been
Batman.
around. It was around more, definitely. I'm gonna give you that. But I think that Superman's was more heroic, or Batman's was more like dark and brooding. And that's the thing now. That's what people love. Superman can't be brooding. He's just too fucking bright colored.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. And that's, I mean, that's the thing. But I think also the fans, not to say that our fans were confused by any way, because we were very clear on it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they were remembering that, no, Batman, not the one you were talking about.
No, I made it clear. I made it clear. It was the orchestrated song.
Anyways,
you're just looking for a reason to like justify your losing. Is what you're doing. Look,
I don't like losing. Nobody likes losing. Nobody gets a trophy for losing. Well, that's not true, millennials. But
we got we did get a trophy. We got to hear your beautiful voice. When you sang "Let It Go."
Yeah, no, nobody likes losing, and I don't like losing either. And I definitely like losing to you. So,
well, you know what? Too bad, fuckface.
I just think they like your voice better. That's what it is.
Maybe. I do have a very sensual, sexy voice. Yes.
Right.
I could just feel all the nerd nipples hardening. But anyway, let's start with some news, okay? The podcast YouTube page is definitely a thing. It's up and running. A lot of the podcasts are on there. I still got to get the end of last season on there. Then I'll start putting this season on. But it's definitely going. I've been posting stuff like the DuckTales kind of between seasons podcast. And so I had everyone sing the DuckTales theme. And I put everyone together, and of course, you know, you guys heard Gambit sing, and that's the it's funny because that's the person I get the most comments on when Gambit sings. Like they're like, oh yeah, this guy sounds good. That person sounds all right. That person, you know, they're trying, but with Gambit, it's always like everyone laughs. It's just a known thing. Poor Gambit says it himself. Poor Gambit just can't sing. It is. I let someone hear it yesterday. I think it was Dredd from past podcasts. More or less, he goes, "Damn, Gambit sounds kind of like that mentally challenged kid that just tries to sing a song but can't."
I always apologize to people who have to hear my singing. It's awful. I don't. I have many talents. Singing is not one of them. I love to do it. I do it very loudly. I do it very proudly. You guys should see me in my car singing Katy Perry, "I'm a Firework." Like, I'm in my car. I don't care.
The YouTube page is thriving. It's up. It's running. We're putting a lot of stuff on it. There's a lot of content. It's continuing to grow. So, guys, take a look at that when you get a chance. Some more news is we have a Twitch channel now on Twitch for gaming.
Woo-hoo!
Yeah. Isn't that cool? We can actually, you can actually watch us game, and of course, I think each and every one of us, myself, Sunrise, Gambit, and True, all have our own Twitch channels. But you can actually watch us through that too, because we can host on there. So it's beautiful. Gambit, here's some more news, but I'll let Gambit get into this one because we kind of heard this happen on the DuckTales.
Yeah, it was hilarious. Podcast. Okay, so we were recording a podcast. What podcast was it?
It was the DuckTales podcast.
Was it? Yeah, so during mid-DuckTales podcast, my computer dies. Just closes, gone, out. My fan finally gave out during it. Now, if you've ever really listened to the podcast, we have to do a lot of editing, mainly because of my setup. I've got a really nice mic, and I had a really old computer. My computer was from 2007, mind you, people. Yeah, 10 years old. Like, my computer is older than most people's kids. So So really loud fan. So, but as we were recording the podcast, I was getting really into it, and I wear headphones during the podcast. You guys ever seen the video shoots that I do? I wear headphones, so I can't hear my computer for the most part because I got Sunray or Wild or Dread or whoever else is screaming into my ear. And the reason the other ear is uncovered is because, well, fucking I'm deaf. And I really am. Like, I know sign language. I'm fluent in sign language. I'm legitimately deaf in one ear because of the military. So we're recording the podcast, and suddenly my computer just goes blank. Boom. And I was like, well, that was unfortunate. Right, like unfortunate. So I turn on my computer. It logs on. It starts to boot up, and then I hear the fan kick on, and I hear, and I literally hear it go, and I was like, what the hell? And it dies again. Like, it was like a little queef, like,
a little queef.
And I was like, oh, it was like crying. Like, my computer was crying. Like, pretty much my computer died for your bastard sins. Like, that's what happened. It was like, I cannot handle this much porn. I just can't do it. There's just so much porn.
Finally, we're going to have a bitch session. And this is something that's a long time coming. You guys have heard me rant and rave. I love Netflix. It's a great way to, like, watch movies and, you know, get laid.
We'll have to agree to disagree on that one. No. I want you to finish because I interrupted you and I was a jerk. I'm just saying that we're going to have to look, Wild loves Netflix.
I do.
Gambit, I hate it with the passion of Christ. I hate it.
You hate it with the passion of the Christ.
Like, I hate it. You know what I hate even more than Netflix?
Why do you hate
having
Netflix?
to use Netflix?
It's a great way to watch. It's a great way to watch movies. It's a great way to get laid. You know, Netflix and chill. It's a great way. It's just a really cool thing. And they got their own cool series. They got this, you know, they're coming out with their own shows. They're learning. They're growing. They're not just, you know, order these DVDs and they come to you through the mail. No, Netflix has come a long way. That's the reason why I enjoy Netflix. So let's hear your negative side.
There's always been 4 major reasons why I can't stand Netflix. It's not the biggest 4 reasons in the world, but it's enough to just drive me absolute batshit crazy. Number 1, for the longest time, they had 0 content. So when Netflix first came out, when it first debuted, like you said, they've made a lot of progress. They've come a long way, and they have. But when they first came out, what they would do, Netflix would do this on purpose. It was kind of like, and they learned it, and I think they got it from like HBO and Stars, because I don't remember if I know Wild, I know you're old enough, but I don't know if everybody's old enough to remember this. HBO, when you had Comcast, would give you free HBO for like a weekend and play these bitchin' movies.
Yeah.
And then you're like, awesome, I'm going to buy HBO. And then you subscribe to HBO, and then you get shit movies the rest of the year. And that's what Netflix does. Netflix, when Netflix first came out, it had 4 or 5 amazing titles and then a shit ton of crappy movies, like just a pile of them, like movies that nobody would ever want to watch and shows that nobody would ever want to watch.
I beg to differ. There was a few really good Mel Brooks shows on there. There was a few good, like, old school movies and stuff like that. But, you know, okay, I get your first reason.
Now, that first reason is kind of becoming moot because now they have, like, Star Trek, they have 21, they have, like, their own series, like you said. They have, like, I love Orange is the New Black. I'll admit it, I like it. The last season was a little too whatever for my taste, but, you know, they have a lot of good shows. They have a lot of good movies now. They even had Doctor Strange, which is a comic book fan. Hell, they put a Marvel movie on there. Super okay with that.
Oh, they're doing a lot of Marvel stuff, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Okay. This drives me absolutely crazy. I am sick to death of Netflix pushing what they want down my throat. So when you watch, like, Top Trending, that's usually what people are watching. But no, here's what drives me crazy. Because you watch Star Trek The Next Generation. Cool. The first recommendation, Star Trek Deep Space Nine. That makes sense.
Yes.
Right? Hey, you like Star Trek? Here's more Star Trek. The next one makes sense, too. The Twilight Zone. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But then some things start happening that doesn't make sense. The next 3 are all Netflix originals. Castlevania.
Are you going through your shit right now?
Yeah, I'm going through my shit right now. Okay. This is no joke. The next 3 are Castlevania, The Defenders, and Voltron. All Netflix originals.
Yeah.
And here's now you can kind of make an argument, you know, nerdy shit, anime, you can make an argument. But here's the one that gets me. The very next one, The Founder, the McDonald's movie.
Yeah. Good movie, by the way. I saw it.
How does that have anything to do that if I'm interested in Star Trek?
I don't know.
No. What it is it's Netflix wanting to boost, like, hey, you didn't watch this show yet. Hey, and I guarantee you,
watch our shows.
If I guarantee you, I promise you, if I go down to another one that was like because you watched, it could be because you watched Buttfuck Central. Hey, do you want to watch The Founder? It's like you haven't watched The Founder yet.
Well, I think it's just they run out of shit to put on there, so they just start putting random shit.
Well, that just drives me crazy. It might be because they put literally top picks for me. Like, okay, Sons of Anarchy, cool. All right, that makes perfect sense if you know me. Star Trek, that makes perfect sense. How to Train Your Dragons makes a little bit more sense because I did watch some Disney movies. I do love me some Disney. Mm-hmm. Right? The Matrix makes sense. Supergirl makes a little bit of sense. Guess what? The Founder. There it is. And here's the thing. Here's the fucked up part about it is I kind of want to watch that movie, but part of me doesn't want to watch it because Netflix is whoring it out so bad. So that's my second reason. So Netflix just whores out their shit just way too much. Okay. Thirdly, this is a weird one. I know this is a weird one, and I might lose some fans with this one. Believe it or not, Netflix has some really good underrated shows. They don't advertise. There's like 90 original shows that you can only find on Netflix if you search them, which really pisses me off because like that means that literally Netflix is holding content back unless you know how to search for it. It's basically like if anybody lives in California or Arizona, it's like going to In-N-Out. If you're a first-time goer to In-N-Out, you're going to get a good burger. But there's a secret menu. Only if you know and you've been there and you've been going there and somebody shows you the secret menu, do you even know about the secret menu. Well, I've been ordering off the secret menu for years because I always order a 4x4. I order a 4x4 animal style. If you ask them, can I get a 4x4 animal style? You will get the most amazing burger you will ever put in your food hole.
I don't know your food hole.
But that's the same point of Netflix. Like Netflix is like hiding their content, and some of this content is super, super fucking good.
Oh yeah.
So why hide the content when it's this good? Why are you holding this back from me and pushing The Founder on me? I get it. The Founder looks like a great movie. It does. I want to watch it. I'm very interested in it. But you've got so much content and you're pushing this on me. And then fourthly and lastly, and this is something that's new, I hate the fact they changed to the up and down, thumbs up, thumbs down rating system.
Yeah, you know what? I agree. I like the 5 stars, and I like that you can see that other people voted as well. And now it's just like, oh, you like it or you don't like it. There's no in between.
Now as far as all that, and really my biggest reason is, and I said it earlier, is I hate Netflix because I hate having to use it.
Let me get into the point where I'm frustrated, where I'm actually frustrated.
Yes, this is what I want to hear.
This is what got me talking about Netflix with Gambit earlier. You guys got me on Twitter. You've probably seen me talk about this, but this is just, oh, God damn it. Oh, God damn it. Oh, motherfucker. Okay, here we go. 4 episodes do not make a fucking season. Netflix, stop that shit. There is no fucking reason why you go, oh, Castlevania's out, guys, you've been waiting for it. Here it is. Oh, fucking great. And I click it and I'm excited. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get like 15 episodes and 4 episodes and I'm done. What the flying shit, Netflix? And you didn't stop with that. I think what, Voltron was like, the last season of Voltron was like 7 episodes.
Now here's the question. Is it 4, because I haven't watched Castlevania because I've been holding off on it. Is it 4 episodes, but is it 30-minute episodes or are they 1-hour episodes?
I don't remember. I don't give a fuck. 4 episodes. 4 episodes. That is not a goddamn season. Netflix, you know, and I know it's not just you guys. You guys aren't just to blame. It's the people who are doing the actual, and I understand why you're doing it. But you're not just doing it with this show. You're not doing it with new shows. You're doing it with shows that you know are doing good. Voltron should not be 7 episodes seasons. And I'm probably wrong about this, but I know it was over 10 episodes. The first 2 seasons were over 10 episodes. Oh, God. That's my frustration, Netflix. You know, okay, 7 episodes and 4 episodes do not a season make. Once they do a season, sometimes it takes them forever to do another season. You know what a good example of that is? Daredevil. How long have we been waiting for season 3? Netflix.
Daredevil has been.
But that's my big bitch about Netflix is the seasons and how long it takes for them to continue. I'll leave it at this. On a positive note, I love Netflix. I do. Great place to watch. That's just, they're fucking up. They're fucking.
See, and here's the thing. I will say I like Netflix. See, if Netflix didn't get rid of their star system, I'd give them a 3-star. But now it's up and down. So if I got to pick up and down, guess what?
Ha!
It's down, bitch.
I like that. I'm stuck with your fucking voting system. Fuck you. Thumbs down, bitches.
Yeah, I'm stuck with your voting system. Thumbs down. You were a solid 3. A solid 3 stars. Not even a 2.5 stars. I'm talking a 3-star. Now you're a thumbs down, bitch.
All right, to the topic.
All right,
Superman.
so Superman. Let's get on this. Let's start at the beginning. It's funny that we talk about because Batman and Superman, and that's something I didn't bring up in the Batman podcast, which I really feel bad about that I didn't give him credit where credit's due. Both Superman and I'm gonna lump Batman in with this are golden age of comics.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys, for the nerds out there who don't know, who are not hardcore comic book collectors like myself, which I'm gonna put my wall up pretty soon, which you guys are gonna geek out on this. I'll put them on I'll put my wall. I don't mean like my Facebook wall. I mean my real room wall. The golden age of comics was when comics first started. When comic books were first invented, basically. Most of this era was 1930. 1930 is when comic books first came out in America. From 1930 to 1960 was the golden age of comics, where the first characters first came out, and what subsequently all other comic books were kind of based off that.
Became the characters that we know and love.
Right. After the golden age, there became the silver age, which is 1960 to, I believe, 1985. I might be a little off on that. And then the bronze age is 1985 and beyond. And as far as I'm aware, again, I'll correct myself if I'm wrong later. I'll look it up in a minute. There is nothing after the bronze age, as I'm aware. So the golden age of comics, another reason why it's also known as the golden age of comics is because they had something known as the comic book code. You'll see this on old comic books. On very old comic books, there was a comic book code that basically the government came down and said, hey, these are the things you can talk about, and these are the things you can't talk about.
Yeah.
So that is where I feel like that explanation bleeds us perfectly into Superman and why he is the perfect example of a golden age comic book. The approval of the comic book code, what he was, and all that good stuff.
Well, he was kind of the, especially what he became later on. He was kind of the American everyman, superhero, right?
Well, he really was. That's exactly what he was. Superman's first comic book was not actually titled Superman. It was actually known as Action Comics #1. It was Action Comics #1 in June 1938. It was a strip that proved so popular that it nationally launched Superman into the forefront, giving him his own comic book, aptly named Superman, in 1939. So a year later, he got his actual own comic book. And now this is a big deal to bring up too, and where I give Superman all the credit in the world. Action Comics were a bunch of comic book heroes. They were strips. It was almost like the funny pages in a newspaper.
Yeah.
And so Action Comics had a bunch of different superheroes, and Superman was so popular, that strip was so amazing that at the time Action Comics was like, wow, we could make a whole book based off this guy, and I think he's gonna sell. Mm-hmm. And they did. They launched it in 1939, so a year later, and he did amazing, becoming what we know and love now. So his original powers was that he was faster than a speeding bullet.
Well, it's faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive.
Able to
leap
a building with a single bound.
Yes.
And that's something to be very important, because that means that Superman could not fly. When he first came out, this is something I get into arguments all the time with people. When Superman first came out, he could not fly.
That's interesting because I've never put that into context. I never thought about that. Able to leap a building in a single. I just thought that was like one of his many thousands of powers,
No, that was it. That's all he could do. Yeah, well, don't get me wrong. Faster than a speeding bullet, that's amazing. That's super speed. More powerful than a locomotive, which means that he's strong, basically. Like you can't. So he always had a super strength. And that's where the leap tall building in a single bound, because you got to think, if you're that strong, your muscles are that strong, then in theory I could leap over a building. And so that's all that really was. And then when he first came out, he was exactly what we think about. He was truth, justice,
and the American way.
Yes. Which when you write that as a comic book writer, truth, justice, and the American way, and there was that comic book code that said what you could and could not talk about. And you got to remember, this is 1930s.
Well, so they couldn't say truth, justice, and hell Satan.
No, they couldn't say that. But you got to remember though, and tell people this because it's a fascinating thing to talk about. That Superman gets overlooked, and so do a lot of comic books back in those days. The comic book code in the era. Just imagine, like even now today, we have the FCC. right? What you can and can't say on network television, what you can and can't show on network television. Well, comic books had the same thing. It was called the comic book code. And back then in 1930, it was way more strict. Like, you could not, in the original comic books, you could not show a panel of Superman kissing a girl.
Nope.
Like, that was a no-no. You could not see face pussy. You just couldn't see it.
Face pussy?
Oh yeah, that's what we comic books call it when they because like in the old school comic books in Silver Age when they started making out all the time, you just assumed that they were gonna get some pussy.
Yeah,
so
they're
called it
like,
face pussy. But you can't actually say it, so it's like getting some nice face pussy there. Nice.
That's another thing. Superman would kill Lois Lane if they fucked, I would think.
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Like, his thrusting power alone would shatter her hip.
Yeah, I mean, he can fly around the world and cause time to go backwards. Why? How the fuck?
Oh,
I know.
Oh, so
You know what I did
hard.
there. You know what I did there. He can do that shit and then, like, make gentle love to Lois Lane. I fucking don't believe. I call bullshit right there.
I guess we gotta start anywhere with any good origin story, right? So Superman, also known as Kal-El, was born on Krypton. So their planet, now originally there was no storyline to why their planet was being destroyed. That was written in later.
Yeah.
It was just that their planet was dying, and Jor-El, who was a brilliant scientist, was like, fuck it, time capsule, baby, go to Earth. Like, why he didn't build a ship big enough with another seat for his mom or him, that's beside the point. Yeah, like, it's been one of the biggest nerd arguments. Like, why?
Well, I don't even think he, when he launched him into space, and correct me if I'm wrong, when they launched him into space, I don't even think they're like, oh, you're going to Earth. I think they just said, good luck.
I think that's what it was. I think it was just kind of like, peace.
We hope you don't die in the vacuum of space.
But he does. He comes to Earth. Krypton is destroyed. Boom, explosion. Now, what's really interesting to note on this is that during the explosion of Krypton, Kal-El's little capsule, little baby capsule, took parts of Krypton with him in the gravity pull. So he's pulling some of his planet to him. So he's pulling parts of his planet with him as he travels through space. Eventually lands on Earth. He's adopted by Martha and...
Your mom's name's Martha, too.
Martha, why do you say that name? Yeah, Jonathan and Martha Kent find this baby in a field in a time capsule and don't decide to call the FBI. They just decide, hey, fuck it, baby, let's adopt it.
Well, it is, the 30s, so, oh, yeah, I found a baby. It's mine now.
I found it. I licked it. It's mine.
There's no such thing as, like, adoption. It's just like, if you found it, it's yours, It's that
exactly.
first come, first serve kind of.
First come, first serve. Hey, look, there is a baby just in the rain. Fuck it, it's ours now.
What a nice time to live when you can do shit like that.
when you can just do, and there's no paperwork. There's no questioning it.
No, there's no questions like, Mom, was I adopted? No, we didn't even adopt you. We just found you in a field somewhere. And it wasn't like a normal finding a baby situation. The kid was in a fucking pod.
The best part about them, too, is that he crash landed in their field.
Oh.
And then they cover it up. Not only do they adopt this baby, but they cover up an alien crash landing. So he crash lands, and as he's growing up, the parents notice that he's getting super strong. He's becoming Superman. He's Superboy at this time. He's becoming Superman.
Super puberty.
And later, it's revealed that he gets his powers from Earth's yellow sun. Apparently, Krypton did not have a yellow sun, which
that's a red
matters.
sun, I believe.
They had a red sun, which I'm pretty sure there's some sound scientific value to like a different sun, because there is value to like.
Well, I'm assuming gravity. I'm assuming that's a big thing.
Earth's yellow sun fuels him. It's literally the rays from the sun. So there's something about his body chemistry, being born on Krypton and being with the red sun, that when a yellow sun touches him, that he becomes God, which always begs the question that if an Earth goes down to their solar system, does their red sun make us Superman?
I know. I think I've even asked that in one of the podcasts. Like, if we could go to Krypton.
Well, if we go to their solar system.
Yeah, if we went to their solar system or a nearby planet, would their red sun make us like... And why would they call him Superman? Why can't he be called Super Kryptonian?
Well, at the time, he didn't know. At first, he didn't know that he was a Kryptonian. They didn't really have that. In the original comic books, remember, it was a strip. They didn't have the background. They eventually really pound down the storyline. And they get you a better version of it and that they even get you in the newer comic books, like in the Silver and Bronze Age. They really go into, especially in the new movies, they really go into like the in depth of the planet and how like Krypton was run by like the S on the chest that he wears is like a family crest. So the comic books ran very, very well. So there were some short-lived 60s TV shows, but when most people talk about Superman, they talk about the Christopher Reeve movies. I mean, not just our generation. We're talking about almost everybody. Like,
yeah, well,
literally,
Christopher Reeve was pretty much one of the better Supermans, and then it's just I think that the guy that got to play not the last Superman, but the one before him, the one where a lot of people hate that movie, but I actually liked it. It was almost a continuation of the Christopher Reeve's story. And I thought that was actually a damn good idea. I think it was Superman Returns is the one I'm talking about. The one that
let me pull up the movie list.
Man of Steel is when they started fucking up.
Yeah. But let's talk about the first three movies, because the first three movies were freaking iconic. They were amazing.
Yeah,
they were everything that Superman wanted to be. Like, especially the first.
They were perfect because the time was great. I think they found a perfect time to put out a Superman movie. Marlon Brando played Jor-El. Gene Hackman was Lex Luthor. My only complaint about this is that Lex Luthor was kind of a goofy villain in the first movies.
Yeah,
he was a goofy villain. He wasn't taking. Lex Luthor's a high intellectual person.
The big movies are Superman, Superman 2, Superman 3, Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, Superman Returns, Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, and then obviously Justice League.
So you know, after Superman 2, it just all goes downhill.
It very much all goes.
It just all goes downhill. Superman 1 was good. It was a great introduction story. Yeah, Superman 3 had Richard Pryor, and that's just when shit got bad. And it wasn't because of Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor was an amazing actor and a really funny person. It was just bad writing for Superman.
It was just too bad writing, because honestly, Richard Pryor is literally one of my favorite actors, one of my favorite comedians. I think he does. If you have not sat down and watched that man, like, honestly, him with Gene Wilder is his best comedy. We're about to get into like why I'm not a big fan of Superman, but the movies do kind of blend together. There's nothing.
They do.
There's nothing really noteworthy that makes it, like General Zod and the fight between General Zod and the two other bitches, that really kind of sexy androgynous bitch. She was kind of hot. But none of the movies had such a standout storyline that I remember, like, oh, that's 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's 4. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, as much people.
Unless you're a huge fan, I guess, but it's just they mesh together. It's almost like one big super movie, the first 3 movies.
Actually, the only one the way I look at it.
The first movie, of course, was the best. Yeah, and I agree with you. It's a great way to look at it. They mesh together so badly.
And that's the problem with, like you said, and my other big problem with the original movies is, like you said, Lex Luthor wasn't as intimidating as he was supposed to be. Actually, believe it or not, the one series I was very happy with Lex Luthor, besides the animated. How come all the animated series are the best ones? Have you noticed that, like, Batman the animated series from the 90s was the best Batman? Superman the animated series.
Because they kind of reimagined Lex in their own way, I think.
Well, yeah.
They gave him the intellect that he was supposed to have.
Exactly.
And on top of that, the voice actor who played Lex Luthor was suave. That motherfucker sounded suave.
But other than that, I really like the way Smallville did the portrayal of Lex Luthor. Because the whole point of Lex Luthor was that his super intelligence, the reason why he was bald, all that stuff, was because he got hit with some of that kryptonite that followed down. Like, he got affected by the kryptonite. He got super strong. He basically became super smart. That's what I've always loved about Lex Luthor, is that he knew he couldn't beat Superman brawn to brawn. Nobody can. But he knew he can beat him brain versus brawn, and that's what it was. And that's what he always tried to. Basically, Lex Luthor was the ultimate nerd. Like, he just wanted to prove that he was smarter. He wanted to prove that he was the smartest and that he could outdo Superman with his mind. And the thing about that, too, is he was always his friend. I love frenemies. Whenever you have a frenemy, it's the best storyline, because whenever you have somebody that, God damn it, I hate you, but God damn it, at one time we were friends, so I can't kill you.
Best of friends, yes.
And that makes the dynamic so much better, because Superman wants to stop evil from happening. Lex Luthor wants the freedom to do whatever he wants because he's the smartest, but neither one of them wants to kill each other. So they're always in this constant stalemate of like, I don't want to kill you. I just want you to leave me alone. And Superman is like, I want you to stop doing bad because you're my friend, but I can't let you keep doing evil. And it's just like this great dynamic.
I brought up Lex Luthor, and I like this because it's going to segue into what I want to talk about next. I want to talk about, because Batman has an amazing list of villains, right?
Yeah, I would say that he has probably the best list of villains of all.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the villains for Superman. Bizarro.
Bizarro's good.
Superman. That's a product of frickin' Lex Luthor. And just so you guys know, Bizarro made a debut in 1959. Then you have Brainiac, one of my favorite villains.
I love Brainiac because not only was he the smartest, but he was just as strong as Superman.
Yeah,
because Brainiac wants all knowledge of the galaxy, and then he has to get those by destroying it. Matter of fact, one of the biggest storylines is that Krypton wasn't destroyed, but Brainiac shrunk it down into a glass case.
Yeah, I remember.
And have it's a huge, awesome storyline, and it's one that Superman realizes that he beats the crap out of Brainiac, and Brainiac's like, it's right there, and he looks over, he's like, oh my god, it's Krypton, it's right there, there's the people, and he's basically sucking the intelligence, so they're alive in this little shrunken down world, and he gets all the information. That's what he does to planets. He goes and he shrinks them down and he steals the intelligence. That's what makes
Brainiac essentially turned into was a collector of information.
Exactly, and then but what Brainiac broke the bad news to Superman was that there's no way to reverse the process. Yeah. That was one of those ones that gave Superman a psychological mind fuck. Like, he really stuck his big mind dick in his brain.
Oh yeah, there was some mind babies being made.
Yeah, it blows you away because you think about that, you're like, wow, that sucks to know.
How would you react, right?
Yeah, how would you can't save your people, but you can maybe stop their torment from being their energy and their life source and their knowledge being sucked away from them, but you can never restore them to what they were in their former glory. It's like, oh my god.
Brainiac made his debut in 1958. There's Darkseid. Darkseid's actually kind of a big part of the Superman universe because he's one of the guys that can kind of go for blow with Superman, right? And he appeared 1970. And then of course there's Doomsday, who appeared in 1992. He's actually kind of newer. Doomsday is. And that's actually the creature who supposedly killed Superman.
Yep, one of the most famous, iconic, legendary days of comic books is when Superman dies. The death
of Superman was I remember hearing about that. I remember people were so upset. Metallo first appeared in Action Comics number 252 in 1959. And that's that's someone who basically they turned into a cyborg, more or less, and they gave him the heart. His heart is literally kryptonite, so he has the power to literally weaken Superman and then beat the fuck out of him. Let's talk about modern day Superman. How did his powers change?
Well, see, we had originally it was, leaps tall building with a single bound, yada yada yada, and that's great. Like, that's really but modern Superman, he could fly, he got laser vision, X-ray vision, but he couldn't see through lead.
Somewhere between when Superman was first made to now, he's got laser vision, he could fly. What else?
Oh, and the breath. And for some reason, I don't know if this was ever a superpower or if it was something he invented, but in one of the movies, he could throw a cellophane S off his chest and
that was fucking weird.
That was a thing that happened eventually. Nobody wants to talk about that power, but it did happen.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that because that's so fucking cringeworthy right there. Yeah, how the fuck?
He did it was one of the Christopher Reeves movies.
It was against the Zod trio. I know that much.
Yeah, it was against the Zod trio, and it was
when he lost his powers. That's the one he lost his powers in.
So bad. It was so awful. That was mildly a Family Guy did it the best. That was mildly inconvenient. That really held me down for a few seconds.
Let's think about this. It's a cellophane S, okay, and it affected them. How did that affect them? They got these powers to rip through steel and buildings and fly through shit and I-beam stuff. How the fuck did a cellophane S hold them down for 5 seconds? And it didn't just they didn't rip through it. It just disappeared out of existence.
Yeah. It didn't Like once he threw it on them and then he broke out of it, it wasn't like, oh, there it is. There's some cellophane on the ground. No, it was like it's gone. Like
it's gone.
The shit.
Just, if I recall correctly, it faded. Fuck you, Superman. Yeah, there was Superman 4, the quest for peace. I think that's where he battles the Atomic Man.
But then see, that goes into my problem. So eventually, Superman became just so fucking powerful. And I'm gonna rip it off, but it was. He articulated it well, better than I could ever articulate, and that is the amazing. I'm gonna say it 3 times because the guy is amazing. Quentin Tarantino, and he wrote in Kill Bill a fantastic diatribe about why Superman is a piece of shit. As you know, I'm quite keen on comic books, especially the ones about superheroes. I find the whole mythology surrounding superheroes fascinating. Take my favorite superhero, not my favorite superhero, quoting, Superman. Not a great comic book, not particularly well drawn, but the mythology. The mythology is not only great, it's unique. Now, a staple of the superhero mythology is there's the superhero and the alter ego. Batman is actually Bruce Wayne. Spider-Man is actually Peter Parker. When the character wakes up in the morning, he's Peter Parker. He has to put on a costume to become Spider-Man. And is that characteristic, Superman stands alone. It is in that characteristic that Superman stands alone. Superman didn't become Superman. Superman was born Superman. When Superman wakes up in the morning, he's Superman. His alter ego is Clark Kent. His outfit with the big red S, that's the blanket he was wrapped in as a baby when the Kents found him. Those are his clothes. What Kent wears, the glasses, the business suit, that's the costume. That's this costume Superman wears to blend in with us. Clark Kent is how Superman views us. And what are characteristics of Clark Kent? He's weak. He's unsure of himself. He's a coward. Clark Kent is Superman's critique on the whole human race.
It's a good explanation on who Superman is, and that's true. He's judging humanity.
He really is, and that's the thing, and that's why I don't like Superman, is because. And another thing too is, and this is something that I truly believe in, and that is, what is courage? Courage is having the testicular fortitude or the vagina fortitude to go into a situation that you could possibly die and doing it anyways because it's the right thing to do. Now, with Superman being so strong, with Superman being indestructible, I submit that Superman is a fucking coward. How do you show courage? How do you face fear when every situation you know you cannot be hurt? He didn't face fear until the final crossover in the comic books, which was a shitty ass movie, Batman v Superman. When Superman and Batman finally fought, and Batman found out what his weakness was kryptonite, and turned Superman mortal. And that's another thing too. Let's get into this. Superman is a bitch ass superhero because his super strength, his super speed, his ice breath, his laser vision, all these things about Superman make him a bitch because he doesn't have to fight. When a robber comes at you and he stabs you with a knife and the knife breaks and you grab him with one hand and throw him across the city into the jail cell, you didn't do anything.
Well, he does have super villains, more or less. So yeah, I understand
but even then, his super villains weren't that challenging. Again, Lex Luthor, his greatest super villain, was a brain super villain. When he finally got against Doomsday or Darkseid, somebody as strong as him, he got his ass handed to him. Why? Because he can't fight. He can't.
Well, there's an episode I want to say of Justice League where he goes against one of those guys, and he's excited because he doesn't have to hold back. Just imagine that. And I'm not coming to Superman's aid here. I'm just saying, imagine having to have a super gentle touch with everything you do, because if you open a door, you're gonna throw it off the handle or you're gonna break it off the freaking wall. Yeah, imagine that.
And that's why I always like Batman more than I like Superman, because when Batman actually infects him with kryptonite and they go hand-to-hand combat, Batman beats the living tar out of Superman.
Just another reason Batman's better.
Well, and that's one of the only good scenes in Batman versus Superman where he's like, "Do you feel that? That's fear."
Yeah. But I agree with you. There's no fear in Superman. There is no fear.
And when he is shown fear, what does he do? He cowers in the fetal position. He has no idea how to handle it. Look, I talk a lot of shit about Batman. I do. I talk a lot of shit about Batman. But when it comes to DC, because I talk a lot of shit about Batman because I'm not a fan of DC itself. But when it comes to actual superheroes, the Green Arrow, Aquaman, Batman, these guys are the shit because they're around a world where they are normal. And everybody goes, Aquaman, why did you throw that one? He has super strength. Yeah, when he comes on Earth, but in Atlantis, he's just a normal dude. And he fights other dudes that are just as strong as he is. So he has to know how to fight. So these guys are way better. And Superman is just, he's such a bitch. He's such a cowering little bitch. And then he is the ultimate, like, and now we're gonna get into the furthest incarnation, which we're getting to the end of Superman's storyline. Now we're getting into this new incantation of Superman, where the comic book code has been lifted. Comic books can do more edgier, darker things, and this really started. And this is actually a good point to bring up. The fall of comic book code really happened because of great comic book writers, amazing comic book writers, guys that I very much idolize and thank for every day. I thank these guys, and I kind of hate these guys, and here's the reason why. So a bunch of comic book guys got really sick of the comic book code, and they broke off, and then they classified something called graphic novels. Now, when you called something a novel, it fell into the novel category, which means a book. It became a book. When you write a book and when you write a novel, you can put anything you want into it. When you write a graphic novel, you're just adding pictures to it. So a graphic novel, these guys started writing the same thing, basically comic books, but now they can do whatever they want because they reclassified their book. Now, with the turn of graphic novels, the most famous graphic novel at the time, the first one, the one that really started it all, I think it was the first one, I might be wrong on it, but is Watchmen. Well, Watchmen had a lot of graphic things, lesbian sex, drugs, finally, to survive, the comic books had to go up against the lobby against America and be like, you need to take these off. And it's actually really a famous comic book, if you can find it, is any of the comic books in the first year where the comic book code was lifted, and they no longer have that little approved by the Comic Book Code of America seal on it. It was a big deal. Anyways, once that happened, it was kind of, in my opinion, the fall of clean comic books. Suddenly now everybody had a sad origin story. Suddenly now everybody had to be edgy and dark and something twisted about them, and everybody had to be just a little bit jaded, and everybody had to be a little bit this, a little bit dark.
There had to be a darkness in this thrown into the story.
And so since the comic books couldn't rewrite Superman, instead of darkening his origin story, they darkened his future. And that is where we get into Batman v Superman. That's where we get into Injustice video games, where that is when the Joker kills Lois Lane, Superman goes batshit crazy and basically becomes the dictator of Earth. Basically says, look, I rule this bitch now, and if you have a problem with it, I'm going to kill you. And then he starts killing people, just murking people all day, just murking.
Well, he blames Batman.
And he blames Batman because Superman's logic at the time is that if Batman had just done his job and killed the Joker, millions of people, including Lois Lane and Superman's son or daughter, based on which comic book you're reading, would have still been alive. Batman's thought process has always been the same thing, and that is, for us superheroes, it's too easy just to kill. Now
you become what you've been fighting.
You come what you've been fighting. You're a dictator. You are controlling. You basically become, in essence, and what Superman becomes, which I hate to say the word, but he basically becomes Hitler. It's mass genocide. It's mass genocide. It's my way or the highway. And because nobody can stop Superman, and because a lot of superheroes then kind of go to his side, it becomes this war between superheroes, and that's where we get these new twisted comic books and these new storylines. So that's pretty much, in a nutshell, Superman's origins, some of his villains. I mean, we didn't talk about all of his villains, and I would definitely love. It's our first episode back, so give us some feedback. Who's your favorite super villain? Actually, mine has probably got to be, I don't know, man. I'm stuck on Lex Luthor, but I've always loved Doomsday because he kills him.
With me, it's always been a tie-up between Metallo, because I like Metallo's storyline, Brainiac, because I just loved Brainiac in the animated series. I thought the voice acting was perfect. I think that it was a really cool character, and of course Doomsday, because Doomsday was the only one that could actually stop Superman.
And I know we're not getting into Justice League for us nerds out there. We're not going to get into Justice League because
that's a podcast by itself.
That in itself is a podcast. At this point, I feel like we're kind of doing like the movies right now. We've done Batman, we're doing Superman. One day we might do the Flash, then we're gonna do Aquaman, then Green Arrow, and then guess what? We're gonna do a fucking Justice
we'll do
League.
a Justice League movie. Yeah.
Do a Justice League podcast, and I mean that when you get into that, and that's when you get into a whole lot of different storylines, and you get into a whole lot of different characters and different character developments. You also get into the storylines of him. You know, his big love interest has always been Lois Lane, but there is a lot of comic books where he does bone down on Wonder Woman. And the reason why I ship their relationship and why I love their relationship so much is because when Wonder Woman and Superman are together, when Superman's not crazy, in the storylines where Superman's not crazy, she brings out the best in him like a good woman does, and he brings out the best in her like a good man does. And that is just something I could just get behind all day. A power couple, you know?
And
like,
he gives her the good dick all day long.
All day. I mean, just all day. And he doesn't have to hold back with that good dicking. Like, could you imagine?
Oh yeah, it's not like Lois. He's like, I gotta be slow and gentle. No, with her, he can just grab her hands, fucking pin her to the bed, and pound her into it.
Can you imagine how many beds they had to buy? Just breaking beds. Like he probably fucks her into China, like all the way.
This needs to be animated.
But that's it. Tell us why you guys love Superman.
Let us know. What's your favorite supervillain, superhero? You guys got an idea for a podcast? Let us know. The Facebook page. Go to the YouTube page. Check us out there. Hey, check us out on the Twitch page. We're social media madness, guys.
I got to give a shout out. I got to give her a shout out because you know what? Here's why I'm giving her a shout out, even though we haven't done a podcast yet, guys. I love it when you guys interact with us. I love it when you guys give us ideas. I love it when you guys, ask about us. I love it when you guys. Crystal gave us a great thing, so shout out to Crystal for always being a great fan and being there and commenting and making funny comments and other things. It doesn't go unnoticed. Same with Grizz. Grizz is always up on our face. You guys, we love you guys. That's why we do it. That's why you guys help us with giving us ideas, things to do, and just that's why we did this, is to build a great community of nerds to get together and just nerd out hard.
Everyone, we hope you enjoyed this first episode of season 4. Wow.
Whoa, season 4. Wow.
Come a long way.
I came in season 1, the Star Wars episode.
It's come a long way since a brainstorm. This podcast has, since a brainstorm I had just standing outside of one of my old jobs. We thank you guys for listening. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. We hope to see you again next week. And remember, everybody, stay sexy.
Peace.